Join us now for Education Matters, a weekly look at the real people and real stories in education across North Carolina.
Welcome to another episode of Education Matters, presented by the Public School Forum of North Carolina. I'm your host, Keith Poston. This week I'll be talking one-on-one with State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Mark Johnson, about his first months on the job. We'll also talk with the regional head of PNC Bank and a top Duke University researcher about the importance of early childhood learning. Like every week, before we tackle our main topic, we open with our segment we call Edlines. It's a quick scan of education headlines across North Carolina and the U.S. The pace was frenzied this week at the General Assembly as the crossover deadline arrived. Crossover is the date when most bills must pass at least one chamber and cross over to the other chamber if they're to be considered this session. Several education bills were brought forward to beat the clock, including some fairly contentious charter school bills. One will allow charters to expand enrollment much faster than current law allows without express state approval, while another bill would allow charter schools to reserve half of its slots for children of employees of private companies that invest in the school. Another House bill gives authorization for two small towns outside of Charlotte, Matthews and Mint Hill, to create their own schools separate from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg school system to be run by for-profit charter school operators. Now, it's worth pointing out that all these efforts would still be funded by North Carolina taxpayers. One bill we've been discussing for weeks finally saw action. HB 13 was passed by the House in February to amend the K-3 class size cap included in last year's budget that school leaders have said would lead to thousands of special subject teachers like art, music, and PE losing their jobs. An amended version of HB 13 moved through the Senate that delays full implementation of the hard class size cap for another year, with a pledge to deal with funding special subject teachers next year, but without actual funding in the bill. That price tag has been estimated at approximately $325 million to save those jobs in 18-19. Next up is an expected concurrent vote by the House. The Senate acted after weeks of protests by students, parents, teachers, and other public school advocates. Now, while introducing the amended HB 13, Senate Education Committee Chairman Chad Barefoot blamed school superintendents for the delays and accused them of what he called political gamesmanship and not providing information requested. Now, finally, two bills that would expand the appointment powers of our first guest, State Superintendent Mark Johnson, moved through the House. The first would create a new Office of Early Childhood Education reporting to the superintendent. The second would allow the superintendent to use about $700,000 in salary from currently vacant positions in the department to hire his own staffers without input from the state board. We'll ask Superintendent Johnson about both of these bills when we talk next. Now remember, you can visit the Public School Forum's website at ncforum.org, click Education Matters, and read more about each of these Edlines as well as other topics we cover each week.